A very good evening to one and all present here. This is BCom Harness Department of DG Vaishnav College welcomes you all to the Bouquet Wrap, a panel discussion on Union Budget 2021 to 2022. I'm Mahesh Krishna of DG Vaishnav College BCom Harness third year and Sajid from third year of BCom Harness being hosting this event. So to make this day even more auspicious, we welcome Danya from second year to sing the prayer song.
हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मन विजय करे, दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना, भेदभाव अपने दिल से साफ कर सके, दोस्तों से भूल हो तो माफ कर सके, झूठ से बचे रहे, सच का दम भरे, दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मुश्किलें पड़े तो हम पे इतना कर्म कर, साथ दे तो धर्म का, चले तो धर्म पर, खुद पे हौसला रहे, बड़ी से ना डरे, दूसरों के जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मन विजय करे, दूसरों के जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना। Thank you.
Thank you, Danya. So now we have Meenakshi from third year to recite a poem on this topic.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை சிறப்பிக்க வந்திருக்கும் அனைவருக்கும் 3ஆம் ஆண்டு பயிலும் மாணவி மீனாட்சி இந்த கவிதையை சமர்ப்பிக்கிறேன். தந்தை தாயிடம் பணத்தை கொடுக்கும் அந்த தருணம், தாய் அந்த பணத்திற்கு வரவு செலவு கணக்கெழுதும் அந்த தருணம், தனது செலவுக்கு பணம் ஒதுக்குவார்களா என பார்க்கும் அந்த தருணம், தந்தையோ செலவு கணக்கு எவ்வளவு வருகிறது என பார்க்கும் அந்த தருணம். அதே போல்தான் நமது நாட்டின் வரவு செலவு திட்டமும். அரசாங்கம் புதிய திட்டத்திற்கு பணம் கொடுக்கும் அந்த தருணம், அரசாங்க ஊழியர் அதற்கு கணக்கு சொல்லும் அந்த தருணம், அன்றாட மக்களின் பயனிற்கு பணம் ஒதுக்குவார்களா என பார்க்கும் அந்த தருணம், தாய் எவ்வாறு வரவு செலவு கணக்கை பகுதி பகுதியாக பிரிக்கிறார்களோ அதே போல் திட்டத்திலும் உடல் நலம், நல்வாழ்வு, நாடு முன்னேற்றம், சுய தொழில், வரி என பகுதிகளாக பிரித்துள்ளார்கள். கணக்கு போட்டது போல்தான் செலவு செய்திருக்கிறோமா என சரிபார்க்கும் அந்த தருணம், குடிமக்களுக்கு அவர்களது இல்ல கணக்கை சரிபார்ப்பதில் இருக்கும் கவனம் தங்களது நாட்டின் வரவு செலவு திட்டத்தை சரிபார்ப்பதில் தவறுகின்றதே என்ன காரணம்? குடிமக்களின் அறியாமையா, இல்லை அவர்களின் இயலாமையா? சிந்தித்து செயலாற்றுவோம். ஜெய்ஹிந்த்.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Now, before getting into the main head, let's have a basic view of what is budget and the basics of the budget in common and the budget of 2021 to 2022. So, basically, what is budget? Budget is the estimation of income and expenditure for a financial year. Every ministry makes a list of the funds they need and give it to the finance ministry. And the finance ministry works on it and gets into the main picture, that is the main financial budget for the year, in the February 1st for every year. And the question arises, why budget is very important? Budget is very, very important. Say for an individual or a company, for even a country. Budget is very important as it tells about our financial position as well as our stability. And this year, that is the budget 21 to 2022, is very, very different and very important as because this is after the COVID pandemic situation. The whole world and the economy had faced downfall last year during the 2019 to 20. Now, to resolve that and bring to the back to the basic suggestion. So this year, the budget is very, very important. Where if we look at the last year, the the estimated economic growth was standing at 4.2%. Now it has been come down to minus 8% estimated. So to bring back and boost the economy, this year financial budget is very much important. And to look at the overview of this year budget, some of the overview points are doubling the farmers' interest and income rates, and to develop their education all over India, to provide world-class healthcare system and of post-COVID-19. These are some of the basic overview of this budget 2021 to 2022. Some of the highlights of this budget year is Mission Portion 2.0 to improve nutritional outcome across 112 aspirational districts, bring up 100 new military schools to be set up all over India, a multinational seaweed park to be established in Tamil Nadu, and most importantly, the borrowing is for this year is estimated to be 12 lakh crores. And this is the basic of budget and budget 2021 to 2022. And such it, I guess it would be good if you explain this in Tamil.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். பிசிராந்தையாரின் சில வரிகள். காய்நல் அறுத்து கவலங் கொலினே அறிவுடை வேந்தன் நெறியரின் கொலினே பறிவுதப எடுக்கும் பின்னம் நஞ்சின் யானை புக்க புலம் போல தானும் உண்ணான் உலகமும் கெடுமே. புறநானூற்றின் வரிகள் கூறுவது, அதாவது ஒரு சிறிய நிலத்திலிருந்து அறுவடை செய்யப்படும் நெல்லிலிருந்து ஒரு சில மேடு அரிசி ஒரு யானைக்கு போதுமானதாக இருக்கும். ஆனால் யானையே விளைநிலத்துக்குள் புகுந்து உணவை உண்பதோடு உணவையும் அழித்தால் என்ன நடக்கும்? அதுதான் வரவு செலவு திட்டம் என்பது ஒரு நிதியாண்டுக்கான வருமானம் மற்றும் செலவினங்களை மதிப்பிடுவதாகும். ஒவ்வொரு அமைச்சகமும் தங்களுக்கு எவ்வளவு நிதி தேவை என்பதை ஒரு பட்டியலாக உருவாக்கி நிதி அமைச்சகத்திற்கு சமர்ப்பிப்பார்கள். பின் நிதி அமைச்சகம் அதில் பணிபுரிந்து இறுதி பட்டியலாக உருவாக்கி அதனை ஒவ்வொரு ஆண்டில் பிப்ரவரி 1ஆம் நாள் வெளியிடுவார்கள். வரவு செலவு திட்டம் ஒவ்வொரு தனிநபருக்கோ அல்லது ஒரு நிறுவனத்திற்கோ ஒரு நாட்டிற்கோ கூட நிதி நிலைமையை பற்றி கூறுவதாகும். வேறுபாடுகள். இந்த வரவு செலவு திட்டம் 2021-22 மிகவும் முக்கியமானது. ஏனெனில் COVID-19 தொற்று நோய்க்கு பிறகு கடந்த ஆண்டு 2019-2020 ஆண்டில் முழு பொருளாதாரமும் வீழ்ச்சியை எதிர்கொண்டது. கடந்த ஆண்டு 4.2% இருந்தது. இப்பொழுது அது மதிப்பிடப்பட்டு 8% குறைந்துள்ளது. எனவே நமது பொருளாதார தடை உயர்ந்து இந்த வரவு செலவு திட்டம் மிகவும் முக்கியமானது. குறிக்கோள்கள். விவசாயிகளின் வருமானத்தை இரட்டிப்பாகும். இந்தியா முழுவதும் கல்வியை வளர்த்து கொள்வது. உலகத்தரம் வாய்ந்த சுகாதார பாதுகாப்பு முறை வழங்குவது. சிறப்பம்சங்கள் 113 அபிலாஷை மாவட்டங்கள் ஊட்டச்சத்து விளைவுகளை மேம்படுத்த மிஷன் போஷன் 2.0 தொடங்க உள்ளது. 100 புதிய சைனிக் பள்ளிகள் அமைக்கப்பட உள்ளன. தமிழ்நாட்டில் ஒரு பல்நோக்கு கடற்பாசி பூங்கா நிறுவப்பட உள்ளது. இந்த ஆண்டுக்கான கடன் 12 லட்சம் கோடி ரூபாயாக இருக்க வேண்டும். இவையே வரவு செலவு திட்டத்தின் சிறப்பம்சங்கள் ஆகும். நன்றி.
Thank you, Sajid. Now let's get into the main head. We have 5 different topics, that is heads in this budget. So we have 5 different panelists to discuss among them. So among that, the first topic is going to be transportation and defense.
உன் நண்பன் யார் என்ற சொல், நீ யார் என்று சொல்கிறேன். அதே போல் உன் நாட்டின் பாதுகாப்பு மற்றும் போக்குவரத்து வசதி என்னவென்று சொல், உன் நாட்டின் வளம் என்னவென்று சொல்கிறேன்.
Yes, accordingly, to talk on this, we have Mahesh VR from second year.
So good evening, everyone. Can any moderator confirm that if my voice is audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you so much. So good evening, everyone. I'm Mahesh, second year BCom honors. So I've chosen this topic, logistics and defense. So if my screen is my screen visible, can any moderator confirm, please? Again, sorry for that.
Yes, your screen is visible.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my topic is logistics and defense. People who know me, like I'm a big fan of these both. Like, let me just go to my first topic, first slide. Sorry. So logistics, as you could just read here, refer to all the transportation networks to move goods and personnel around the country. It comprises of railways, airways, roadways, and waterways. Uh, So all the networks that we use to move stuff around is logistics. And the process of moving stuff around is also logistics. Why is it so important? Like without the whole economy is when people buy and sell. So when goods are transferred from one place to another, a sale happens. I mean, a transfer of goods happens. So this is what keeps the economy running. You cut the road networks for one day, you cut the trucks for one day, the whole nation stops moving. So these are like the blood vessels of a nation. Hence, development and maintenance is really important. So first we are moving to roadways here. Roadways, every road consists of roadways, as you know. So in our slide, we have a lot of numbers. So let me quickly break it down for you. Before let's moving on, let me say that my whole presentation is a quick take on the budget. So I may have missed some points, but here's my opinion completely. So first, rupees 1,18,101 lakh crore. I mean, that's a huge amount, was allocated to the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. I mean, this is just the amount which was allocated. And the next point is 13,000 kilometers of highways were already awarded for development. So further, as you could just read on this slide, we see that lots of new projects have been started. And this means that development projects will see a big boom in this financial year, 2021 to 2022. So let's move on to the special takes of the highway construction. In Tamil Nadu, there is 3,500 kilometers. Kerala, 1,100 kilometers. 675 kilometers in West Bengal, including the upgradation of Calcutta to Siliguri. So I think that this corridor is actually important because this Kolkata to Siliguri corridor actually connects the northeastern part of India with our Indian mainland, as in like the V-shaped thing we know. I mean, we all say that the Northeast is always neglected. So I think that this is a great investment when coming to connectivity between the northeastern part and our mainland. And there is also highway projects in Assam. Assam's actually growing good. So I think that these highways will actually bring some development across the way, across the path. And now let's move on to the expressway constructions. Highways are one part. I mean, highways are fast and expressways are super fast because in highways you have incursions and like intersections which slow down, and also you find lots of small towns and villages passing across, like just adjacent to the highway, which means that you slow down a lot and there is a lot of incursions. In order to get from here to be real fast using road, expressways are good. I mean, highways are good for mid-level connectivity, but for top-notch connectivity, the expressways need to be like emphasized. So as you could see, there's Delhi, Mumbai, Delhi, Dehradun, Amritsar to Jamnagar, Kanpur, Lucknow, Delhi, Katra. So I feel that if we develop expressways between tier A1 cities, that the big cities, I feel that population movement can be made faster. So I think that road development is really important because number one, it reduces transportation costs and also keeps emissions low. We all speak about global warming, carbon emissions. So if we make our roads better, they will also reduce. It's a trickle down effect. Moving to railways, right? I mean, we all know that railways is the India has one of the biggest network of railways. Rupees 1,10,055 crore was allocated for railways. And as you can see, 56 major projects are expected to be completed. And so looking at this next point is that the dedicated freight corridors for Western and Eastern India. Freight, that is goods traffic, is always slow, and mostly it interferes with passenger traffic. So by this dedicated freight corridors, two things will happen. Passenger traffic will speed up, and since these corridors are specifically built with keeping goods trains in mind, the infrastructure for housing these big long mile, like these trains will be a kilometer long in these freight corridors. So I think this will, both of them will speed up, and hence the cost will reduce. 100% electrification. I don't know how much. This is one of my. I am always skeptical about 100% electrification, because in some places you can't just build power stations, big plants, etc. For example, look at hilly areas. I mean, they always will remain diesel. So I don't know how they're going to make it electrified completely. And increment in rail freight intermodal share is when you can transport the same container in both ship, road, and rail. They are called intermodal share containers. So it's increasing by 45%. HSR, high speed rail, is hike are planned. It's not confirmed. It's be under planning. So I think that's a good step. HSR, while also keeping speeds up, it reduces the cost per mile, because due to high speeds, the track maintenance cost, they all come down. And it's also looking for private participation in some areas. Lower cost metros in tier 2, tier 3 areas. I mean, even though in small cities, though the city is small, the traffic is high. So I think that implementing a good metro system there is actually good. And moving on is the implementation of higher standard traffic management and safety systems. I mean, our system is based on a really old British system. It's called the AWS TPWS system, but now we are looking for like German systems called the PZB. Waterways, so 7 road projects, and ship recycling. Aviation, so some key takes are that leasing firms are exempt from capital gains tax, as in, like, most airlines, they take leases on aircraft, they don't just buy the aircraft. So if lease costs go down, I'm sure the ticket prices go down. If ticket prices go down, passengers choose air. So it's completely trickle down effect. I love it. And fuel costs are also under 5% GST, which is a reduction. And duties on maintenance equipment is reduced. Air India's disinvestment is planned. Connectivity under Udan scheme, to smaller areas, is also planned. Code sharing, in long international flights, multiple airlines share the same flight. These days, it is really restricted before this. Now it's being planned to liberalize, like Europe and USA. So moving on to my last thing is defense. 1,35,060 crore has been set for new weapons, aircraft, warships. We are as I actually Googled a bit about this and found that our equipment is actually based on 80s and 90s Soviet era. So I think that upgrading it is actually necessary. And payment of pensions is there. It's actually reduced because the age of retirement is increased. And also indigenization projects are given some emphasis. So to maintain the operational requirement, the non-salary revenue has been increased to 54,624 crore. For example, maintenance and also ISR, intelligence, surveillance, recon activities, so that we know what's going to happen beforehand and may reduce casualties too. So thank you. I think I've gone past the time. Let me just check. Yeah, sorry if I had gone past. So thank you for listening to this.
Thank you, Mahesh. So is there any questions from the viewer side or opinions on this presentation? If so, please put them on the chat box. Okay, so thank you. We will move to the next. Okay, Mahesh, you have a question. Mahesh?
Hello, can you hear me? I've been trying to unmute myself.
Yes, yes, yes. Now I could hear you. So you have a
Yeah.
question.
So,
So the question is, what do you think about Metro Neo?
right, yeah, Metro Neo is one of the projects that they do in tier 2 and 3 cities. I mean, as we all know, these metro systems, we all see them in these big cities like Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, Noida, and I think Gurgaon has one, Bhopal. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But still, if you go to tier 2 and 3 cities, like for example, take Tiruchirappalli, and maybe Pune. I mean, Pune is a big city. I don't think it comes under the. I'm not sure about that, but it does not have a metro. So look at these cities. I mean, they're still small cities, but if I'm talking about Trichy, so that's a small city, but I've been there a lot of times. It still has a lot of congestion issues. I mean, there's a lot of traffic. I mean, accidents are happening due to lots of traffic, not due to negligent driving. So if you get a good metro system there, and also the public transport connectivity is there, but it's not too emphasized upon. So if you showcase a good metro system, which is also cheap, matches the cost of private operating buses, I think that people will prefer to go, because if you give me like if 20 rupees bus versus 25 rupees metro for the same place, I definitely go with the metro, because like it has better facilities, better convenience, etc. So it's all about how well they plan the routes and how well they keep the cost down. We also need to ensure that the quality is maintained. I think this answered the question.
I hope that Mahesh has answered your question, sir. So there's no other question left for you. Okay, so we will move for the next.
The second arena gonna be health and education.
நோயற்ற வாழ்வே குறைவற்ற செல்வம். கற்றது கையளவு கல்லாதது உலகளவு எனும் பழமொழிகளுக்கு ஏற்ப அரசாங்கம் நமது நாட்டின் வரவு செலவு திட்டத்தில் உடல் நலத்திற்கும் படிப்பிற்கும் சில சலுகைகளை ஒதுக்கியுள்ளார்கள்.
Now, Mr. Aditya from second year will emphasize on it.
Good evening, all. Am I audible? Good evening, all. So I'm going to
Yes, yes,
talk.
Aditya, you're audible.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk on the health and education part of our union budget. Now, obviously, we all know that 2020 was a difficult, and both our health and education sector went through hard times. We realized that how important is it for us to invest in these areas. It is a lot of time people actually do not associate with the concept of health and education being directly related to our economic and social well-being. So let's see what the budget has for these sectors. I'm going to start with the health sector. So recently an economic survey let me clear this. I'm really sorry for this, but yeah. Okay. So recently, an economic survey of 2021 came out, and it suggested that to improve the spendings on health and education, health to 2.5 to 3% of our GDP. Now, this is the same percentage that was suggested by the National Health Policy in 2017. Our government has also used this opportunity to actually go and to actually go and improve our health and increase it by 2.24 lakh crore rupees. So government has spent 2.24 lakh crore rupees, or I may say it has targeted to spend 2.24 lakh crore rupees, which is an increase of 137 percentage against the budgeted estimate of 2021. Now, PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana, this is centrally sponsored scheme which was introduced in this year's budget. And it was with an outlay of 64,180 crore, which would not be spent this year but over 6 years. So the main focus of this scheme would be to strengthen the health infrastructure. It would improve the primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare system. It would strengthen the existing and also create new institutions to detect and cure new and emerging diseases like obviously the coronavirus. And this would be in addition to National Health Mission. So this would not replace National Health Mission, but I may say it would complement it. Second thing, to improve the nutrition of the citizens, the government has merged supplementary nutrition program and the Poshan Abhiyan, and launched a new mission Poshan 2.0. Jal Jeevan mission for urban areas would be launched to improve the water supply and liquid waste management. Now, over 5 years, 2.87 lakh crores rupees would be spent for this. Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 for urban areas will be implemented. Now, 1.4 lakh crore rupees would be spent over 5 years here too. India being handful of countries to actually make a COVID-19 vaccine, government has provisioned 35,000 crore rupees for it and also promised to provision more if it is required. Now, a pneumococcal vaccine, which was available only in 5 regions before, government has made efforts to roll out this vaccine all over the nation. This vaccine would help prevent more than 50,000 child deaths annually. Now, this vaccine actually will help in treating pneumonia, blood poisoning, and the swelling in the spinal cord, etc. Coming on to the education sector, uh, more than 15,000 schools will be strengthened to include the components of national education policy. We know that government introduced this policy last year and it received a good 100 new Sanic schools would be set up in partnership with state, NGO, and private schools. So Sanic schools means like they would obviously, help you give knowledge, but they would also impart defense discipline in students. New legislation would be implemented for Higher Education Commission of India. This would replace the UGC and a few other institutional bodies. Umbrella structure would be created for research institutions, universities, and colleges over 9 regions. Now, okay, so the government has budgeted around 93,224 crores for education this year, but this is actually a reduction in amount against the budgeted estimates for 2021, while it is an increase in 80, while it is an increase from the 85,089 crores of revised estimate. Now, what's my opinion on this is that the budget has given promises. It is promising the health sector. The schemes announced would be of tremendous help to the people of our country and would help to improve their health. Now, there are a few things I would like to point out though. First, the budget allocation for Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Yes. So this scheme provides health insurance to poor people, but I think that there should be an increase, but the government has failed to increase. Rather, they have decreased the budgeted estimate for this plan. This would increase the out-of-pocket expenditure. Also, the expenditure or spending on the education, as we just saw, were reduced, but I think it should have been increased. There were no mentioned digitalization of education and how the government is planning to make it feasible for the rural students, because we all saw that around 9 months we have been on online classes, but this luxury is always not available for other students, students in rural areas or poor students who have not, who do not have the luxury to have an internet connection. The PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Yojana that we just talked about is over 6 years, but the government has not mentioned it in the expenditure profile of the current year. So we do not know what the expenditure the government has to spend this year for that scheme. And yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya, for enlightening our knowledge on this set. Do anyone have any question regarding this? Just get open up and ask something. Or you can also give your opinion in the chat box. Hope they are cleared. So we can go to next study now.
Okay, so I think there are questions.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah,
Do you think
Narayan has asked, what are primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare systems? Okay, so there are three levels of healthcare. Basically, where you can go and get yourself treated. So primary is the very basic level of healthcare that you could go. It is like you get ill or you get a cough, you go to the pharmacy. You could go to the dentist near your house or the doctor's clinic. That's primary healthcare. Secondary means when you cannot get treated in the primary healthcare, like you get malaria, right? So you cannot get treated in a clinic. You have to go to a hospital. So these are specialized hospitals that you go to get treated for if you are not getting treated in the primary. And tertiary healthcare system is a specialized system for unique operations that are like a chemotherapy or the bone marrow transfer, the bypass surgery or the brain surgery. So for these, these require high equipment and high investment and highly qualified doctors. So this is the tertiary healthcare system. So these are the three levels of healthcare that you could go to treat yourself. I think I've answered it. Can you explain a bit more about creating umbrella structure? Yeah, so umbrella structure, right? So there are research universities and colleges and institutions all in many cities, okay, like Hyderabad and Chennai. So these are actually a very these are not structured in a way that they are doing it on themselves. They are autonomous. So an umbrella structure would be created to monitor all of them and have them in control and have a look on them. These will be created in 9 districts, but it is not clear which districts this will be. These will be, but I guess could be that could be those districts where a lot of institutions are right now, like the Hyderabad, Chennai, these could be, big cities. Yes, I think I've answered pretty much.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. It was good. So we can move to next arena. Sorry, we have one question. Do you think government can provide quality education with reduced funding?
Okay, so that's a question for me.
Do you think government can provide quality education with reduced funding?
So that actually depends. But I must possible. It is possible. But for that, we have to have, qualified teachers and that infrastructure, which is not yet available. Fundings, if reduced, we could give quality education, but it should, have the global standards. Quality education, as Indian standards, we could normally give that, but we surely must, with the current situation, have a rise in fundings to provide quality education.
Okay, so next we will step into the next one. So the next arena is going to be direct taxation reforms.
இயற்றலும் ஈட்டலும் காத்தலும் காத்த வகுத்தலும் வல்லதரசு எனும் திருக்குறளுக்கேற்ப அரசாங்கம் மக்கள் வரி செலுத்துவதில் சலுகைகளை ஏற்படுத்தியுள்ளனர்.
Yes. So I call Mr. Vaishnav Shroff from third year to discuss on this.
Yeah. So, can you see my screen, Bhagesh?
Yes, I.
Anyone?
You are visible.
Yeah. So now I'm going to talk about direct taxation changes in the budget. Now, directly going into direct taxation changes, I felt would be, void. Because there were major changes which happened in the last year budget, and also there was some changes which happened prior to that. At that date, which happened to be was 20th September 2019. So, if you are a person who watches the stock markets and who really likes to read the news, you would have read that there was a very big corporate tax slash rates. Okay, so there was the rates were cut, and that happened a lot. The rate was cut heavily, and that was a big boost, okay, to the corporates. The reason why I'm telling the corporates is that you can see here, I will just show it to you here. The rate which was prior, just a second, yeah, the rate which was 30%, okay, for domestic companies, has now come down to be 22 percentage. So which was 30 has come down to 22. So for kind of information, it was not 30. The base rate was 30. It has come down to 22. The base rate has come down to 22. Now what happens is, what basically happens is for 30, the taxation rate would be coming to be around 34%, 34.94%. And for the new regime, it would be 25.1%. So it is not 8%, it is more than 9%, 9.5% of relaxation was given. And that really would boost the reserves and surplus of any kind of company to save more, to spend more, and boost the economy. That even happened for manufacturing companies. Those who are manufacturing, for them, even it was normally to pay 30%. Now it has come down to 15%. Even there was even the reduction happened in minimum alternative tax. I'm not going directly into minimum alternative tax because it will take a time. It is for certain industries, they can avail it. Okay, that was 18.5. Now it has become into 15%. Now coming to the last budget changes which happened. Last budget changes, if we go means your 2021 budget, what happened? What were the changes was? What was the old tax regime talking about? It was 0 to 2.5 lakh. You don't need to pay any taxes. Okay, it was very clear. 2.5 to 5 lakh, you need to pay 5% as the income. So it's like going step ladder. And then 5 lakh to 10 lakh. Okay, so these two is inclusive. 5 lakh to 10 lakh, it is 20%. More than 10 lakh, when it came to more than 10 lakh, it was 30%. So there was old tax regime. Now what has happened? They have went into step play. Okay, 0 to 2.5 lakh, nil. 2.5 to 5 lakh, 5%. 5 lakh, 7.5 lakh, it's 10%. 7.5 to 10, it is 15. 10 to 12.5, it is 20. 12.5 to 15, it is 25. And more than 15 lakh, it is 30%. You will just blindly see and say that, yeah, I will go with this one. So I'm going to go with this one. But, it is not like that. Just for one working, I can just show you. So how am I going to choose? But so how are you going to choose between the old and new? Because you cannot directly jump into that. There are some arenas which you need to see. Can anybody say whether my Excel sheet is visible so that I can show you the working?
Yes, yes, it's visible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what happened is in the new slab system, okay, what they told that you cannot claim any deduction under Chapter 6A. What was the deductions? If you pay an LIC premium, you can claim it as a deduction. Medical insurance, you can claim as a deduction. You're contributing towards your national pension scheme, you can claim as a deduction. All those deductions now you cannot claim. Okay, so if you want to avail the lower tax rate, you cannot. So that's for an example, see, if a person's income is 6.5 lakh and you have a deduction of 1,70,000, what would happen in your old tax rate? Your income would be 4,80,000. Here it is going to be 6.5 lakh. Now what is going to happen is that there's an 87A rebate, which makes if a person's income is less than 5 lakh, would give you exemption itself. So you don't need to pay the taxes here. Okay, completely you don't need to pay. It's just nil. But when it comes to due slab, how it is going to be 0 to 2.5 lakh, it's obviously nil. 2.5 to 5 lakh, it is 5%. So it is going to be 12,500. And then 5 to 7.5 lakh, obviously 6.5 lakh falls under that. So next additional 1.5 lakh, you are going to be taxed at the rate of 10%. So your total taxability comes to be 27,500. So the tax you need to pay is 27,500 in this case. Okay, and old rate, with your old regime, you need to pay 0. So obviously it is better that I go with this option. Okay, just for now another example which I want to show. If my income is 9,80,000 and I have a deduction of 1,70,000, so again in this regime it is going to be 8,10,000 as my income in the old regime, and the new regime I'm going to be paying tax at 9,80,000. So how it is going to be 0, 12,500. Then here it is everything is 20%, more than 5 lakh. So it is 3,10,000, which is more than 5 lakh into 20%. Okay, 62,000. Now here again this is 0. Here you will pay the tax at 12,500. Here now up to 7.5 lakh. Obviously it's more than that. So it's 2,50,000 into 10%, which is going to be continuing like that. And then additional 2,30,000, you are going to pay tax at 15%. So if you just see it here, okay, if you just see here, it is 72,000. Here it is 74,500. So which one is better? The new rate is better. So how am I going to decide that? There are two criteria. One is your investment criteria. How much investment or 80 deduction you are going to get. Second is your 87A rebate, which I told you about 5 lakh. Now coming back to other changes, dividend distribution tax was removed from the last year. So what happens? Previously, company used to pay the dividend distribution tax. You weren't charged up to 10 lakh income. Now it has been completely, reversed. Now it is completely reversed. Now you need to pay tax and at a normal rate. Okay, previously it was a special rate, right? So now, what are the expectations from the current budget? There are a lot of expectation, like reduction of tax. There are wealth tax to be introduced, but I don't think that I'm going to go detail about that now. Now going on to the current budget, why have I quoted these 2%? Completely it was a GABA innings, where direct tax, it took all the hurt. Okay, they played it defensively, not making any move, but the expenditure increasing it, going at a faster rate to boost the economy, to get the economy back on the track and making it go at a higher pace. That was the objective of this budget. Now, only I am not going to cover the whole detail of the direct taxation. Some areas of confusion which I want to cover. Do 75 years above don't need to pay tax? No. Our finance minister said it clear. It is only for the people who are paying pension and interest income. Pensions and interest income. What will happen is bank will deduct the tax. They don't need to file the income tax return. Okay, so if you have a capital gains, if you're selling an asset and making a capital gains, in that, whether that income is going to be taxed, obviously it's going to be taxed, and you need to file the ITR. Okay, indirectly it is being taxed, but you just don't need to file the ITR. Second is reopening of tax proceedings. Reopening of tax proceedings, whether it's going to happen. So what is that? IT commissioner can do it up, and that is only when you do a fraud. So I'm not going to cover that now. Next is tax holiday. It's just to claim the tax holiday. It is increased. We previously on 31st March 2021. Now it is 31st March 2022. You can claim it up. So the tax holiday means you don't need to pay the tax for 5 years or 10 years period. So whatever it is. Now tax audit, which was exempted up to 5 crores. Now it is made to 10 crores. But there is a catch here. It is for those business or doing a transaction 95% digitally, which it includes even check payment and all those kinds of things. So with this, I would like to conclude the direct taxation changes which has happened from the 2019 elections. I can say to be the major changes I have tried to cover. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yash. So is there any question or opinions to be asked? So if so, please do post it in the chat box. Please do post your questions, if any. Okay, there is a question. So the question is, do you think reducing corporate tax rates makes the common man, that is the salary class, to lift more tax burden of the country? What's your answer for this, Yash?
Yeah, so it is a good question. See, because of the corporate tax rate cuts, we didn't see the major changes today happening. I told you, there was expectations, making those standard deduction to come, increase the standard deductions, making those deduction to, help the salaried class, which to boost the economy. But obviously, when corporate tax rate cut happened last year, that had put a pressure on the middle, on the salaried class people. So yeah, I felt that there was a pressure, but at the other side, you need to see that when the company has more and more reserves and surplus, they are going to give you more salary also. So that is also the corresponding effect which you need to see it up. So that there are pros as there is as well as there are cons. Okay, because of the corporate tax rate cut, government couldn't take more and more hurt. To especially at the time of COVID, they couldn't take more hurt, so they had to leave the salaried class. Okay, they have to leave those people. And at the time they were also trying to earn. Obviously, we saw that because of the corporate tax cuts, there were increase in salary levels. Some of them tried to, many of the businesses were able to sustain at that point of time. So I felt that, I really, like a question. It's there has been, that it has been, uh, affected the salary class. Obviously, it has affected. I won't say no, but yeah, at the same time, there was some increase in the income because of the corporate tax. So let's hope in the future, the government thinks about the salary class and middlemen, and they will do it up. I am sure that they will do it up. I do have a positive notion about that. Thank you.
Yes. So there's one more question. Just a minute. In the view of COVID situation, has the tax exemption increased or decreased for Mediclaim payments?
No, there has been no changes on that. There has been no changes because I have seen the budget. There was no changes on that aspect. And for RPF, Recognized Provident Fund Amendment, can you say about what was that about, KR Srinivas? I need to see that. So can you just say what was that about? So for Mediclaim, there is no changes. Dharia. There were no changes being made because we know that obviously there was the youth they should have done, but obviously, but being the having a huge deficit last year, they haven't done it up. So Mediclaim, there has been no changes. For KR Srinivas, what was that about RPF amendment? Can you just text up? It was. Are you talking about labor welfare? Kia Srinivasan?
Yes, he has posted. The exemption limit was reduced to 2.5 lakhs employees' contribution. He tells about that.
I don't think that there was a change like that. There was a change. I need to see about that, but I will just check it in the next year, and maybe I'll come at the last Q&A. If I'll just refer to that and come. Yeah, I need to see about that part. Okay. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
just come.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you so much, Yash. It was very good. It was so knowledgeable and it really helped us in gaining our knowledge.
The next arena gonna be indirect taxation.
நாணய நாணயத்திற்கு இரு பக்கம் இருப்பது போல நாட்டின் வரியை செலுத்தவும் இரு பக்கங்கள் இருக்கின்றன. அதில் ஒன்று வேறொருவருக்காக நாம் வரியை செலுத்துவதுதான். அதற்கு நம் நாட்டின் வரவு செலவு திட்டத்தில் சில சலுகைகள் உள்ளன.
Now, Mr. Caricris Onesimus from third year will talk on this.
Okay, can you listen to my voice? Is my screen audible? Is my screen visible and my voice
Yes.
audible?
Yes, you can start.
Yes. So hi friends and hi all the participants who are watching through Zoom and through YouTube. So today I'm going to talk about the tax reforms and policies of the Union Budget of 2021 with regards to indirect tax. Now, as you guys can see over here, we have our customs, we have our GST, and we have other few reforms that have been made. So first coming to the customs, the sunset clause. So what is a sunset clause? A sunset clause is something like a sunset. It rises and it sets. So a sunset clause or a sunset contract is something which rises at a particular time and it has to close at a particular time. So this particular period of time, maybe 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, it is based on the contract. So this particular sunset clause has now been extended for 2 more years, that is till 31 March 2023. That is the financial year, that is the end of the financial year of financial year 2022-2023. Next, bill of entry. So with regards to customs, a bill of entry must be made after you receive the product. But from now on, the bill of entry must be made prior to the receiving of the particular asset or particular product with regards to custom duties and at the same time for the import and export. Next thing is ITC penalty. Now, penalty to be levied in cases where ITC is claimed on the basis and at the same time that is also being claimed in the deductions for customs also. So if this happens where the product has a multiplier effect, this is going to attract certain penalty according to the norms of the new budget. Next, anti-violence measures. Now there are already a lot of anti-violence measures where they have regulated a lot of them so that these customs, these imports and exports have been particularly regularized and monitored also. So now these measures have been increased. Next, reduction in duty and increase in duty. Now let us see what are the products that have been reduced in duty and increased in duty. So duty reduction. Now it is reduced for gold, silver, iron, steel, and copper and other scrapes. That is all the metal related products. That is gold, silver, iron, steel, copper, scrap, other steel metals and other steel scraps and other foreign scraps that either we export or we import. All those custom duties have been reduced. The next thing is what are the duties that have been increased with regards to the current budget is leather, textiles, automobile components, and mobile phone components. Automobile components in sense, as you can look at the picture, you see a car, you see wheels, you see other axle, you see the engine. So those are the automobile components. So all the spare parts that are related to a car or to a bike or any other vehicle that is in India, and all the leather products and textile products also. Next is the goods and service tax. Now we all have a good idea on what is goods and service taxes, and we'll also study about it in our further classes. And even as we go, we gain a lot of knowledge about that. Now, what are the changes? What are the new amendments that have been in regards to goods and service taxes? First, the GST audit. From this financial year, the GST audit is completely exempted. You have no need to do a GST audit irrespective of your turnover. Before, if you cross the particular turnover, you have to do a GST audit, either through a chartered accountant or through any other auditor, and it must be duly signed and it must be stamped. From now on, the GST audit is not needed. Next, supplier invoice for input tax credit. Only if the supplier uploads or updates the invoice details, then only you can claim your input tax credit, or else you are not allowed to claim your input tax credit and you have to pay a GST, how it shows as the taxable amount. Next, self-certification. Self-certification is something which where you would have to self-certify your particular transactions, where because you do not have a GST audit, you must actually, there must be certain certification for your transactions. So that is where self-certification comes into play. So GST, no GST audit and self-certification plays a major role in relationship. So no GST audit, which results in self-certification. Next, GST waiver. The GST board can give waiver to certain notable class of peoples if they want, according to certain conditions and certain terms which are being posed in the union budget of 2021. Next, a pre-deposit of 25% of the penalty for appeal. Say you have a GSTI number and you are paying tax through GST. The government has monitored your transactions and they have said you are doing a fraudulent activity and have suspended or they have completely dismissed your transactions. In that case, you must, if you have to do a further appeal and if you have to furtherly ask the government that what I did was correct, you have to pay 25% of the penalty. Say the penalty amount is 1 lakh, so you have to pay 25,000, and only then you can appeal to any court or any other high court or Supreme Court or any regional court in your particular vicinity or in your particular area that is according to the registrar of your companies. So this is according to goods and service tax. Next, agriculture, infrastructure and development cess. A lot of people talked about this, about the agriculture, infrastructure and development cess, the AIDC. So you're going to see this AIDC word a lot in your future bills. Now, what is this for? This is for financing for the agricultural development expenses. Next, it is levied on the import of notified goods. Notified goods is goods which are used in a day-to-day use. You keep it in your house. Say your day-to-day usables are notified goods. And it is also levied on the manufacturing of petrol and high-speed diesel. So petroleum leads to the development of agriculture and its infrastructure. Next, the central sales tax. Now, as you can look here, the Form C can be issued where the registered person either resells or uses the goods in the manufacturing or processing for sale of goods currently covered under CST. Now, any goods which are used for resale or they are used in manufacturing of new goods, they attract CST, that is central sales tax. This has no connection to GST, but even this is an indirect tax. This is a separate tax. This is central sales tax, not central state tax. So it is central sales tax, not CGST. It is just CST. Now, according to all this, according to what all you saw things in custom, you saw things in GST, you saw other two extra things that have been added in this particular union budget, say the AIDC and the central sales tax. Now, what is my take on this budget with relation to indirect taxes? I have 2 points, 2 important points. The point number 1 is nobody is buying automobiles. Nobody is ready to buy vehicles. Nobody is ready to buy anything that runs with the petrol or diesel. So in that case, you increase the duties of automobiles, which results in people do not buy any automobiles, and which results in lesser demand for petroleum. And lesser demand of petroleum, obviously the prices of petroleum are rising. So people who are already using petrol and diesel vehicles, they're going to be affected a lot. So they're going to pay more and more amount of money to just travel from their house to their office and from their office to some other place. Now today, if you see the amount of petrol in Chennai, the price of petrol in Chennai has raised over 90 rupees, which is never in the past few years. So it was nearly near 78 or 80, and it fluctuates over there. But today, with all these amendments and with all these points coming into play, the petrol price has automatically risen over 90, and it may go up also. So my take on the union budget is things which have no demand and things which have to be improved were not improved. But I hope the government takes these points into consideration and will improve it soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Do anyone have any question? You can also share your opinion in the chat box. Guys, feel free to ask questions in the chat box. You can also share your opinion. You have one question, Carrie. Do you think AIDC introduced will increase the price of products?
So generally, AIDC is being levied on the goods which are only imported, the notified goods which are imported. So goods which are produced in India do not attract AIDC. And at the same time, this is also another point to improve Make in India, so that people, when they're not ready to pay taxes, or when they're not ready to pay AIDC cess also, it gives a lot of burden on the common man. So the manufacturers and the industries, they will take this point into consideration, and they'll start producing those products inside India, so that it does not attract AIDC, and at the same time it will also improve Make in India project also. So do you think AIDC introduced will increase the prices of products? Yes, but the products which are imported and the notified goods, and irrespectively imported or not imported, petroleum and diesel will surely attract AIDC.
Thank you, Mr. Carrie Onesimus. We can move to next item.
Yes. So we'll get into the next arena, which is going to be other sources of receipts, including FDI.
காலம் பொன் போன்றது. நேரத்தை எதற்காக செலவழிக்கிறீர்கள் என்பதில்தான் உங்கள் வாழ்க்கை முன்னேறுகிறதா இல்லையா என்பதை தீர்மானிக்க முடியும். அதேபோல் நீங்கள் எதில் முதலீடு செய்கிறீர்களோ அதை பொறுத்தே பொருளாதார நிலையை அறிய இயலும். அதற்காக நமது நாட்டின் வரவு செலவு திட்டத்தில் சில சலுகைகளை ஏற்படுத்தியுள்ளார்கள்.
To discuss on this, we have Mr. D.S. Srinivasan from Florida. D.S. Srinivasan, please do unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now I could hear you.
Yeah, okay. So good evening, everyone. My name is Srinivasan Vikamohan Storia. I hope everyone is doing well, and very warm good evening to everyone and all. And my name is so the topic I'm going to talk about is about sources of finance, sources of receipts, and FDI. So let me start with a small example. Let's say that you are getting a salary, a monthly salary, and you're run out of your salary and you spend all of it. And let's say that you need more money, so you have some 10 days left for the month, and you have 10 days left for your next page. So what you will do, you probably pick up your phone, dial your best friend number and call him and say, boss, I need money. So what you're doing now? You're borrowing. So this borrowing for a person can be of many things. And for a government, it will be like the RBI will help the government to borrow by issuing bonds. So through various routes. So this is how government borrows, and the government also have various companies on its holdings. So if the government is ready to sell these companies, they will also get a current amount of money for selling those companies. So let's say that government has decided to borrow. So the budget says how much the honorable finance minister is going to borrow for this fiscal year. So finance minister said that 12 lakh crore they're going to borrow for this fiscal year and also for the next fiscal year. So let me just give you an idea about what is 12 lakh crores. It is 12 next to 12 zeros. So that is the amount of borrowings the government has budgeted. So let me repeat, the government has budgeted for the current fiscal year and also for the next fiscal year. So the government is going to borrow 12 lakh crores. And the next thing is that the government has set a target of 1.75 lakh crores from disinvestment. So what is disinvestment is mean that, so as I said before, the government has many companies like public banks and many companies like BPCL, Air India. So these companies, they're going to disinvest from those companies, and the government is going to get money for selling those companies. So the target is set at 1.75 lakh crores, which includes two public banks, not including IDBI and GIC, and also one insurance company which includes LIC. So there, the government is gonna disinvest some part of money from LIC. And the third thing is that the capital expenditure estimate is set at 5.5 lakh crores, which is 34.5% more than the budgeted 4.4 lakh crores. So the capital expenditure has got a big boost from this budget. So we can say that. And the next thing I want to talk about is about the MPC, Monetary Policy Committee. And why I'm talking about Monetary Policy Committee, which happened on the past week, Friday. So the Monetary Policy Committee have a big impact on the government borrowings. Let's say that not only on the government borrowings, but also in your borrowings. So let's say that the Monetary Policy Committee comes up and says that we are going to increase so-called repo rate and reverse repo rate. How it is going to affect you? So if the repo rate and reverse repo rate is going to be increased, your EMI payments and the loans from the banks, those interest rates is going to increase. If those interest rates going to increase, you are going to pay a little extra for those EMIs and the loan repayments and all. So the main thing about the MPC meeting is that very special thing happened in the last MPC meeting. So our honorable RBI governor Shaktikant Das said that we are gonna allow public to open a gilt account. I repeat, gilt account with the RBI, so that they can deposit money in RBI. So probably let's say that if you're going to deposit money in banks, what they're going to do, they're going to give loans for the public and companies. So how if you deposit money in with RBI, what is going to do? It is going to give loan to the government. So the basic announcement has been given by Shaktikant Das, but not a detailed announcement has been made yet. So, and the next thing we will move towards is that Shaktikant Das said that in the past Monetary Policy Committee meeting said that the loans given by public banks, 15% of it will go bad loan. So what is a bad loan is that it is called, in Tamil, it is called Varakaran, which means that the people have not paid the recent payments for those loans. So these loans have been with the banks, and the public banks have a very large amount of bad loans. So what they are going to do is that they are going to form a asset reconstitution company, which will take those bad loans and they're going to give it to alternative investment funds and other prospective people who are ready to buy those banks, and they're going to sell it. So by that, they're going to get back some amount of money from selling those banks, and they are going to give it to the people for the banks who gave those loans. So this is an important thing. And the next thing is that the bad banks concept was given before the budget has been spoken, but the bad bank concept was reframed in the budget called asset reconstitution company and also an asset management company. And the last thing is that the government has said that they're going to increase a large part from the infrastructure, and they're going to constitute a development financial institution DFI with an amount of 25,000 crores for the development in the infrastructure projects and all, and this will increase by 5 lakh crore in a 3-year period. So with this, I'm gonna end my part of the presentation. So if you have any doubts, you can just ask me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, DLS. That's good. So if is there any questions to be asked to DL Srinivasan? So please do put them on the chat box. Feel free to ask your questions and opinions on his talk. So you can please put them on the chat box.
Is there any questions?
Okay, there's a question. Disinvestments of public sector companies, is this healthier for our country?
Yeah, okay. So is it healthier for the economy? So yeah, okay. So fine. So disinvestment from public sector is good from my side, because if the companies from the public sector goes to the private hands, I think the private management. Okay, is disinvestment okay? Fine. So let me answer for the first question. Let's say that public companies has been handed over to private. The management of the, let's say that then the government, private management will increase, and the private management may bring the company to a high position, so that the company which is public before is private now can serve a better purpose before, if it is in the hands of a public company. So I feel is that the privatization of the public companies is better. And for the and what is the second question, Magesh?
Yeah, the second question is just a minute. Yes, is disinvestment is possible for AIR India?
Yeah, okay. So I think disinvestment from Air India is possible, because there are many companies, including including Tata Groups, is interested in Air India. Let me give you a small idea that Air India is a company then before company of Tata's. So the government has bought those company from Tata's before decades ago, and now the company now the Air India has been ready to be disinvested by the government. I expect some companies like groups like Tata Groups or any other groups from India or outside India will definitely buy the company Air India, but it will be at a very low cost, because that everybody know aviation industry is in a very bad condition as of now, and I think that Air India can be sold, but not at the rate the government expects. Yes, I think I answered the question. Is there any other question?
I guess everyone has been clear with your presentation. So thank you so much, DLS. Sorry, DL Srinivasan, for your presentation. Now, before getting into the next step, Yash Nipam Shroff is ready to answer to KR Srinivasan's question.
Yeah. So, Mahesh, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, I could hear.
Yeah. So, actually, I missed that point. There were two major points which KRS asked was one point. KR Srinivasan asked was one point about recognized provident fund contribution. Another one was unit linked insurance plan. So what is recognized provident fund is this is for a government employee. Okay, if a government employee, you contribute to a provident fund, right? That is given only to for the government employee, it is called as RPF, recognized provident fund. So what the contribution they make it. Previously, it was completely exempted. Interest, all were exempted. Now what has happened is to prevent the people who are earning higher high class, who are earning more, they have bought this thing. So if your contribution exceeds 2.5 lakh, and you get on the addition 2.5 lakh, you're getting an interest. Okay, that interest will be taxed now. It is not the additional contribution which is being taxed; it is your interest which is being taxed. Same has happened with unit-linked insurance plan. It was previously, it was tax exempted. Now that that interest is now going to be taxed. So that was the thing. Obviously, I don't feel that it was the need of the hour, but they have made it up because they require some source of revenue, so they would have made it up maybe to to remove the dispersity which is happening, economic dispersity, which is economic inequality which is happening. So yeah, it is just the interest which has been exempted, it's taxable now. Previously it was completely exempted. Now, if you contribute more than 2.5 lakh into such recognized provident fund, then obviously that interest will be or that the remaining interest, which is if you're saying 3 lakh, 50,000, what is the excess which is coming out, will be taxed. I hope that I would have resolved Kia Srinivasan's doubt.
I guess the same. So thank you so much, Yash. Okay, he has already replied that it's done. Okay, thank you all. Before that, before getting into the main, like the next session, so we have activity for you all to make you all feel fresh. So there is okay, so there will be a screen presenting now. So it's activity session. So I request you all to please go and join in Kahoot Talk. And yes, the screen is getting presenting. Yes. So I request all the participants to please do join the Kahoot.it, and while joining, please do write your name, full name along with your roll number. So please don't write your nickname. Just type your full name along with your roll number to become honest. It's mandatory. The code is 3106631. I request all the participants to please do join in Kahoot.it as soon as possible. Please, while joining, make sure that you type your whole name along with the roll number for the Become Honest students. And about this game, about this, yes, everyone must join this. It's mandatory. And about this game, the questions will be posted in this meet. So it will be presented in the screen. And to answer to those questions, you have to get back to the link, that is to the Kahoot.it, and you have to answer that. Yes, I find people joining. Please do join as soon as possible. It's Kahoot.it and the code is 3106631.
Join with your name.
Yeah, join with your name as well as your roll number. So meanwhile, I'm explaining you the rules again. So the questions will be like you can see the questions only in this meet. You should come to the Zoom and view the question. To answer to those questions, you have to get back to Kahoot.it and select your answer. Please do join as soon as possible. Just 1 more minute to go. So I request please to join as soon as possible. Kahoot.it and the pin is 3106631. Your questions will be available in the screen. To answer to those questions, you have to get back to the Kahoot.it and select your answer. Few more seconds to go.
It's mandatory for all to join. Kindly
Yes.
join as soon as possible.
Okay, so we are done. We will start it now. Okay, we will start the game. So the first question will be present in your screen. Here you go. Where is the union budget presented? The option 1 is Parliament, option 2 Finance Minister, option 3 Lok Sabha, and option 4 is any of the above. And so fast the timer is going on. Just 15 seconds to go. People are answering very quickly. It's good. Okay, 5 seconds to go. We are done. And here's the answer. So majority of okay, so like 8 of them have given the right answer. We'll go to the next question. And for that, Subramani is in top. Okay, we'll go to next. What does Ayush stand for? Option 1, housing. Option 2, homeopathy. Option 3, hybrid. Option 4, Himalayas. Do click your answer in Kahoot.it. You have 15 seconds left to answer. Okay, so there are 50% of answer to the question. 5 more seconds to go. Yeah, we are done. So the answer is homeopathy. Okay. So this is the scoreboard. So Subramanian is in the top. The third question. Here it goes. Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana as sponsored scheme with an outlay of 64,180 crores, 94,452 crores, 78,930 crores, and 84,560 crores. So type your answer, like click your answer fast. 10 more seconds. Okay, we are done. So yes, the right answer is 64,180 crores. Majority of answers right. Okay, so Supra, okay. Oh, I don't know. Is that it's clear someone? So he's at the top. So the fourth question, here you go. How much funds are allocated for the health and well-being sector in Union Budget 2021 to 2022? So the options are 2,23,846 crores, 2,87,000 crores, 1,97 crores, and 1,10,055 crores. There are 15 seconds left. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, like last 3 seconds. They are done. So, okay, the answer is 2,23,846 crores. Good job. Team members are great. Okay, so this clear is again in the top. So fifth question. The Union Budget 2021 to 2022 increased the agricultural credit target to what amount for FY 2022? So the answers, the options are 10 rupees, 10.3 lakh crores, 16.5 lakh crores, 19.2 lakh crores, and 21.8 lakh crores. 10 seconds more. Okay, we are done. So it's 16.5 lakh crore. Good. So on the scoreboard, we have this clear on the top. Okay, next. The sixth question. How many PSU to be privatized as per budget 2021 to 22? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, and 3 is your option. select properly. 15 seconds left to answer. Okay, so almost done. Okay, so the right answer is 2. So again, like same, the disclaimer is to be in the top. Okay, the 7th question. What is budget 2021 allocation for Indian Railways? 1,10,055 crores, 2,15,000 crores, 1,41,000 crores, and 3,05,984 crores. You have just left 15 seconds. Okay, so 11055 crores. That is 1,10,055 crores is right. So the 8th question, the ministry has launched the Union Budget mobile app to make documents available in public domain. True or false? Okay, so all are answering very quickly. 15 seconds left. Okay, we are almost done. Okay, we are done. So true is the right option. And the scoreboard remains the same. Which finance minister has delivered the longer budget speech? So just answer to the question. So almost 5 seconds left. Okay, Arun Jaitley is the right answer. So the scoreboard remains the same. Okay, so we'll go to the last question of this activity. The fiscal deficit is estimated to be how much percent of GDP in 2021 as per Union Budget 2021? 9.5 percentage, 8.8 percentage, 7.4 percentage, and 6.8 percentage. So click your answer. Okay, so 15 seconds left. So 6.8% is the right answer. Okay, we are done with this activity. Tarini is to be third, and Nivedita in the second place, and the first place is that this Dixlor. Okay, great. It was happy playing with you all. So I hope you all enjoyed the activity session. Okay, so now we will get into the actual happening of this event, that is the panel discussion. So we have 4 different topics with a face-off between a pair of panelists for each of the topics.
Among them, the first question is, the physical deficit in the last year was standing at 9.5% and the interest spending was 20 plus, and also due to COVID-19 pandemic had brought the income of all the classes of people, leading to a very huge drop in the tax income of the government. With given to that, there was a proposal on implementation of wealth tax, but it was also subjected to certain discussions. Now, with such a heavy interest payment and huge accumulation with the rich class, leading to huge economic inequality whether should the government increase the tax rates on them or shall focus on the borrowings. Now, Mr. Kari Chris Onesimus and Mr. D.L. Srinivasan will talk on this.
Okay, so generally, as the whole topic goes, the increased tax rates and the borrowings, the government needs some amount to spend in the society and in the country. For that, they need some funding. The Reserve Bank is already they are dead. They do not have any money to give to the country, and they have given all their reserves already. So in that case, even if such increased tax rates and borrowings would widen our fiscal deficit, it also helps us in improving minor sectors and addressing minor problems inside the country and also the major problems inside the country through funding, so that these funding options and these amounts can be mobilized throughout the country and the country as a whole can be improved. So these borrowings either from the World Bank or from any other country, or say you borrow from US or you borrow from Europe or the European Union, it doesn't matter, because once the country is growing, automatically the country starts giving income to you. So when the country starts giving income to you, you can stop all these borrowings. You can pay back all these borrowings. At the same time, it will also help you to save a lot of money. So I hope borrowings and increased tax rates have a huge impact and a huge advantage for the country to improve its economic condition, even taking the disadvantages into concern.
Mr. D.L. Srinivasan, you can start.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very good point, Mr. Carey. So I like to say that, let's say that government is going to borrow more. Let's say that the government is trying to go beyond 20 lakh crores, like 12 lakh crores, sorry, pardon me, 12 lakh crores, which is more than the budgeted. Okay, so according to me, the MD of Kotak AMC has said that before the budget has been presented in the parliament, he said that if the government borrowing estimate is more than 8 lakh crores to 8.5 lakh crores, the credit rating of the Indian economy, India as a whole, will go down. So what does it mean that the credit rating of the Indian economy goes down? What will it happen? So there are many foreign institution investors, foreign direct investments, and many things that comes from out of India in this form of equity, and many things that many companies comes and invest even in the startups of India. So we know Zomato, Swiggy, many big startups has been funded by many FDI. So if let's say the credit rating of the companies comes down, it means that the foreign investors will hesitate to invest in emerging markets like India. So for foreigners, India is like the emerging market with the highest credit rating, because we have increased the salaried people incomes are increasing year by year, and maybe the credit rating is also good. If the credit rating of the Indian economy goes down, what does it mean? It means that foreign institutional investors and foreign investors will reduce their investment. I'm not saying that they're not going to invest. They're going to reduce. If they reduce, it becomes difficult for the Indian economy also, because if startups don't get proper funding and many things hiccups there. So I feel that going on borrowing more, if it will be because so that the credit rating of the Indian economy doesn't get affected. So that's my point of view.
Now, Mr. Kari, what is your opinion on Mr. D.L.S. Srinivasan?
I don't get the point of what he's saying. Generally, my co-panelist said that India has the highest credit rating. Now, having such higher credit ratings, you're not using it to borrow, then what are you going to use it for? And the next point is, you say foreign companies are not ready to invest in India. When they start borrowing, the credit rating goes down and the markets fall, emerging markets are being demolished. I say, you're going to borrow and you're going to invest in the country. So why do you want some other country or some other person to invest in your country, and then you give out all your data, your personal data, everything to him, and then again start fighting back for I don't have privacy, and all my things are going, I'm moving from WhatsApp to Telegram. So all these points are taken into matter. So when the country is borrowing for you and it's investing in you, why does some third person need to invest in you? So these are my takes and points. And next thing, I want to put one point clear cut forward to him, that the credit rating of India is high because their ability to repay is so high. So when you have such higher ability to repay, you can borrow. And also the other fact of this, you borrow and you also increase tax rates. When you start borrowing and investing in your country, your people, their standard of living, everything increases, and generally they start to earn more. When they earn more, they pay more taxes, and this helps the country to improve. Even on the other side, so their ability to repay is also increasing. So I don't see in any way the credit rating is going down. So that's my take.
Mr. D.L. Srinivasan, now you can give your opinion to his statement.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the point is very much good, but it's not good for the economy and for the India. Let me tell you why. Carrie said that why the third person want to come into India and invest. The true sense of thing is that foreign people come more and buy government bonds and government equities because they are very big participants in equity markets and the bond markets, because in their country the interest rate is very much low. So what does it mean? That they are going to borrow there and they're going to buy, let's say some between 1% to 0%, like almost 0%. So, and they're going to bring those money where they borrowed abroad, and they're going to bring all those money, put it in the Indian markets, like let's say for example in the bond markets. Okay, so even the government bonds you can get at the yield more than 5%, 5.5%. Okay, so around 6% is in the current situation. So if the person is going to get 6% for the money he has borrowed for 1% or nearby 0%, so they are actually participating in a large manner in the Indian markets. So we can't actually avoid the foreign participation in the bond market itself, because government is borrowing more from the foreigners. How? Because these are the foreigners who are subscribing those government bonds. Okay, so if the government bonds are not subscribed by the foreigners, it will definitely affect the the government expenditure. Why? Because foreigners are not going to buy the government bonds. If the government bonds are not subscribed, what will happen? Government even can't borrow, boss. Okay, I'm not saying that government should not borrow. I'm saying that government should borrow to a limit. Okay, so even if the government want to borrow, they want foreigners' participation. Okay, because even an incident happened that because of the low yield of the bond, many people have the subscription has been not done fully. It is the size of 8,000 crores. Okay, I'm not sure. So if the credit rating is going to be affected, it's definitely going to affect the government borrowings. Okay, my point of view is not government should not borrow. I'm saying is that the government should have the capability of getting the borrowings. Yeah, that's my point of view.
Now he's practically contradicting his own point. First, he started with saying that government should not borrow, and now he's coming, government should borrow with a limit. Now, if I start talking and if I start debating, he would go to a point that you are correct. Let's borrow. Let's give away everything, and let's borrow from the foreign bills. So basically, he doesn't have a particular stand on where he's standing. First, he said not to borrow. Now he's telling you can borrow to a limit. Next, he would tell you can borrow till 10,000. You can borrow till 11,000 crores. You can borrow till 12,000 crores. So as I start speaking and start telling my points, he would increase the limit of borrowing. And finally, he is losing his stand. So I hope my co-panelist does not have a particular stand on what he's talking about. First point. The next point is the particular bond selling or the bond market in which the foreigners or the foreign investors are investing in. There is no need for the foreigners to invest in bonds. You only take the bond market into concern. But I say you have a lot of other markets that are in India. Only if you can say borrowings are only through bonds, I say no. Borrowings can be done to bonds, but only through bonds, I say no. So generally, the particular point of borrowing or particular point of increasing the tax rates. I'm again saying it's not only about borrowing, it is also about increasing tax rates. You borrow, you invest it into the country improves, the country helps you to repay your borrowings. And when you have a good credit rating, obviously every country is ready to invest in your country. And number two, invest in your bonds. Number three, subscribe your bonds. So these were the points which you use. So I'm using it also. Okay. They are ready to buy your bonds, they're ready to subscribe your bonds, they're ready to borrow through your bonds. And the market on a whole. In the start, you said they would invest directly into the market, into startups. And then you lost your stand by they would invest only in bonds. So my particular point is, I have my points clear, but I hope my co-panelist is not in a stand. Thank you.
Okay. Mr.
Can
DL
I,
Srinivasan.
can I give my last point?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Let me. Okay. I'll just pose this one question to my co-panelists. Okay. You have two companies. Okay. One with the highest credit rating with the same business, same everything. Okay. One company with the highest credit rating and another credit company, let's say the company B. Okay. The company B has a very low credit rating with high amount of debt. Okay. And you have 100 rupees to invest in any one of these companies. Okay. At what company you will invest? The company with highest credit rating, which has the highest ability of getting stable for the long term, or the company with the lowest credit rating, okay, the company B, which has high amount of debt, okay, which doesn't have any possibility of being survived for the long term. So your answer is, Mr. Carey?
I'm sorry, Mr. Srinivasan, you have some technical defect. I'm not able to hear your voice properly. Your start of the question and your end of the question was not audible. Can you repeat it?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Let me keep it short, okay? We have two companies, company A, company B. Company A with highest credit rating with low debt, company B with the highest, with the very lowest credit rating, possibility of being going concern for the long term. We choose company A, company B.
I'd always choose company A. The reason is, I'll tell you. Now, your particular point, you're contradicting your own point. Okay, the company B has no credit rating. Then how can it have a long-term stand? It cannot have. Take practical terms into consideration. It cannot have. So I would like to finish the debate that the question is not proper, and let the question be more practical. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your views. And it was really a good debate. So we can move to the next question.
Okay, so next get into the next step. During the COVID-19, our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji has proposed a plan, Atmanirbhar Bharat, which was very important push for the government plan on Make in India. So the finance minister had proposed a plan on boosting of infrastructure and logistical spending, which could boost the image of the country worldwide. Now, the first topic and the question arises whether there was a qualitative spending to boost the economy. So I wish Mr. Yash and Mr. Mahesh to discuss on this.
So, good evening, guys. Is my voice audible?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So, hello, everyone. I am Mahesh again. So, I am speaking for the topic that too much spending is enough and we could move on. So, my first point of argument is that I'm just looking at my notes here. Too much spending in any form is bad. So, I am a big fan of minimal government spending. So the lesser the government spends, the lesser the burden on taxpayers, because ultimately it's our money that the government is spending over there. So the lesser the government spends and still does the same things, it means that the government is using money more efficiently. So as you could see, there are a lot of projects. For example, the roadway projects have been really increased, and then railways have been like, as you know, the 100% electrification plans and the new metro plans, and then the dedicated freight corridors. So it means that the government is spending enough to get new projects in. Also, take a look at the aviation sector. The spending is minimal. Actually, they're cutting down the tax and giving them exemptions from taxes. As you know, the leasing companies. This means that the it used to be overspending. The spending used to be too much, but now they're realizing that it was not necessary and the spending can be minimal. Also, I feel that when spending is minimal and privatization is carried out, the private companies, I mean the not private, the non-government companies, they will get more investments from the general public and from investing organizations. So the burden on the taxpayer, the end burden, will be completely reduced. And then my second point of argument is that, so if you take a look at certain countries, for example, the USA, the UK, Australia, I mean, we use them as standard for road buildings and infrastructure. So if you take a look at their government spending and tax rates, it is actually real low. They source more from borrowings than investments, than taxpayer funded projects. I mean, instead of spending, they focus on borrowings and utilizing that money. So it means that they are actually doing, I mean, it's called that converting savings, that is cash, into investments that gives returns to both the general public and the firms that invest in bonds. So, and also having high interest rates mean that for government bonds mean that the minimal returns for any investment is actually high. So it means that other investments will also have higher rates. So I think that spending can be kept to a minimum while also having more emphasis on investment. And then my third point of argument is that we should focus more on the areas where spending is required. Instead of getting money, we should focus on what we are doing with that money. So take my same point. For example, the aviation sector. We are actually minimizing spending while allowing the sector to grow. I mean, that is actually a good thing that's happening, right? So I'm now about to conclude my arguments. So I'm telling that how much we spend is not the matter, where we spend it is the matter.
Yeah. Okay. So can you hear me, Mahesh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the topic which I will just see the topic which is that the investments and logistical infrastructure and logistical boost, was it enough? I felt it was not enough. Personally, I felt that it was not enough, and there were certain points which I felt in that infrastructure and also your logistical areas where I had certain reservation. Even in defense, I had some reservations. What was the first one was the asset monetization, which they are going to do. The asset monetization means you're going to sell off that asset. Maybe you built a pipeline, like ONGC has a lots and lots of pipelines, so they're going to monetize it. They're going to sell those pipelines. Now, there was one of the things which you told was dedicated freight corridors. That was a very I would appreciate the dream, okay, of our honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That was a really good dream, which was built in. But monetizing that, would it give the government a benefit? Or because that's a very important push for our railway sector. But monetizing that, how are you going to monetize that? That is going to affect the economy also. And also there's a monetization of sports stadiums. Obviously, we have to boost our sports, and having that monetization of sports stadiums would affect they will, if the private players it goes into the private players, and they would charge a bit higher, which is what I felt in the first reservation from your infrastructural boost. And the second one, so the monetization was the first aspect. Second one was that all those highways and railways, metros were targeted around 6 to 7 states. There were connectivity, which was given to like Delhi, Katra. Then you have your Indore, but some majority of the projects was given there, and also there was no clear time. They told that 63,000 odd crore would be given. I'm not exactly sure of the amount. 63,000 odd crore would be given for Chennai Metro Rail for the next 5 years. How much they are going to give in the current year? There was a big question mark to that. So I also have a reservation there. The third reservation which I put forward was in roads and Ministry of Roads and Ministry of Transportation, they have allocated the budgets, right? In that, what I felt, was there was a huge capital expenditure rather than revenue expenditure, where you require the repairs. Obviously, we know the conditions of the roads, we know the conditions of the railways boards. Obviously, they are building it, they are building the new one, but the existing ones require lots and lots of repairs, which I would feel that the revenue expenditure to be increased that at that point of time to boost the current situation. I would feel that that should have been done at this point of time. And also, the defense deal which was done, hiring 83 light combat aircraft, LCA Tejas, whether that was also included or not in the current year budget has been a very big question mark. And one more reservation which I had was an insurance sector, which invest in various industries. They are bringing in foreign players into that. Bringing in foreign players, obviously we know the current situation. Many banks are defrauding at this point of time, and bringing in foreign players, would it be benefiting? Is still a big question mark for me, because the FDI cap has been increased from 49% to 74%. So hopefully that the infrastructural boost would give the Indian economy the right push which is required after the post-COVID time. But there are certain reservations which I felt I put it forward here. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mahesh, what's your viewpoints on Mr. Yash's point?
So I'm coming back to the first point, which is based on the investment projects in dedicated freight corridors and a few other things which has both public and private participation. So the first thing is that the government is not the economy. The government's job is not to do business. The government's job is to govern the country. So I feel that allowing private players private players are the economy actually. The government is just a part which regulates the economy. It does not have to be the economy. So if they could put price caps and margin caps to minimize exploitation, they obviously aren't going to exploit. They're not going to make a monopoly out of dedicated freight corridors anyway, because it is joint participation, like 51-49 only. It's not like 100% as in, I don't know any industry that is 100% private owned in India. So since there is like joint participation, it means that they can't overexploit, and the profit sharing is like 51-49. It depending upon the terms of the agreement between the contracts between government and the private players. So that's good. And also the major thing which private players have is that they are accountable for their actions. The government, they are not accountable. After their tenure is over, they are gone. But once the private players screw up somewhere, they're totally they're devastated. Their share prices are going to go down. People are not going to invest there. So if people don't invest there, that's it, they're going to die. So the private players have this accountability factor that makes them work hard enough to keep them alive. The government doesn't have it. You can see, for example, if you take the Indigo versus Air India. Indigo is growing it's growing in a great rate. It used to grow so big before COVID, and after COVID, it kind of just came sloping down as in every other airline. But if you take Air India, it could have been on the scale of Lufthansa and British Airways if it was privatized, but Air India is not accountable to anyone. Air India is a government company. It's not accountable to its shareholders. It's not accountable to its customers. It's not accountable to its management. So no one's going to put lots of effort. So I think that if the government spends lesser, it means that private players, as in not only private players, everyone gets benefits, because government spending is just spending. But if they get more investments, and if they get capital investments like in government bonds and FDI, it means that the returns are going to come for a longer period of time. Instead of just one cash flow, there are going to be multiple cash flows. So I'm just concluding my point with this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mahesh. So, Mr. Yash, what's your opinions on Mr. Mahesh's points.
Yeah, so he counterparted with 2 points, I think so. The first point was exploitation. Exploitation, I told it about the sports sector. Like, they are going to give the sports stadium out to the uh, private players. No? So that can be the exploitation for the sports who are going to do. And for dedicated freight corridor, what I felt was hiring and leasing could have been a better option. Leasing it out for 1 year, because it is a very, very important project for railways. Especially, I told you that I really like the project because it is going to boost the economy to a higher level. But giving it out today itself to the private player could have a chances that they may use it, they may not use it. If it's a private player, it obviously not no other company can use it. It would be subject to the private player's choice. Whereas government, it is going to be open for all. And when it comes to the accountability, which you told about Air India, there are many other sectors which is moving. LIC, which is still posting a heavy profit, which is having the highest level of profits if we see in the public sector, like 38,000 crores is the profits which LIC is posting. It's a government company, right? See, the Air India was a mismanagement. Now, what the government could do here is that they can implement a better accountability, a better accountability system can be implemented. Even government can do a business. I feel okay. Government has the right to do, because if government does, they will create jobs, and that is obviously going to boost the economy. So I feel that here, completely monetizing all and giving it in the hands of private players is still a big doubt, because the private players, you told that they are accountable, but when the damages happen, it is very heavy. Yes, bank we saw it in Sahara scam. We saw it in many of the scams. The damages has happened heavily. So that damages to the investors, to the people, what is it going to be happening? So I felt, that not all monetization of assets should have happened. Some monetization should have been deserved. That was my viewpoint. Thank you, Vash.
Okay, thank you so much for your views. So as we are running out of time, so we will just conclude here. And yeah,
Okay, we'll move on to the next debate. I request Sajid to carry forward it. Sajid, are you there? Okay, Mahesh, you can do the regarding. Move to the next.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going with the next one. So the next is the fiscal deficit in the last year was standing at 9.5%, and the interest spending was 20 plus. And also due to COVID-19 pandemic, had brought the income of all the class of people, leading to a very huge drop in the tax income of the government. With the given to that, there was a proposal on implementation of wealth tax, but it was also subjected to certain discussions. Now, with such a heavy interest payment and huge accumulation, with the rich class leading to huge economic inequality, whether should the government increase the tax rate on them or shall focus on the borrowings? So, to discuss on this, I request Mr. Carey and Mr. D.S. Srinivas.
I'm sorry, but we just completed it.
Okay, so the next topic is 137% hike in health a correct information or not? For this, I request Mr. Aditya from second year and Carrie Chris Onesimus from third year to present their views.
Hello everyone, am I audible and visible? Budgetary estimate of 2021 as against this year's, that is 2020-2021's budgetary estimate of 94,452 crores. So what actually she is trying to say is, it is this 2,23,846 is not only for the Department of Health and Family Welfare, but for the whole health and well-being of a country. Now, the whole health and well-being of a country cannot be dependent only on the basis on the Department of Health and Family Welfare, but it is a result of a lot of factors like water and sanitation and a lot more. So I do not think there is anything wrong in quoting that percentage. And also, if you see, all these departments which are added are retrospectively adjusted for the actuals of 2019, 2020, and the budgetary estimates of 2020, 2021. So if you compare only these departments only for the year, these are also adjusted for the previous year, and the 137 percentage though came out to be true. So I would like Carrie to do a point.
Okay, so generally what his numbers are, I get his numbers. Okay, now when coming to the numbers, let me take a few numbers of the Department of Health and Family Welfare. So the amount allocated in 2021 budget was 78,900 crores approximately. And in this budget, the allocation is 71,269 crores. So if you can see, practically even if you can calculate, the amount has reduced. So I don't see a hike over here. The next part, okay? The next part. Department of Health Research. Now, generally, a lot of diseases have started to build up in the country, in the state, and there are a lot of mutations of previous viruses. So you need allocation of amount in health research so that we need to know how a virus affects a person, and so that we can help the country develop on that particular aspect and help the citizens health welfare also. Now in that department, previous year, that is in the 2020-2021 budget, the amount were 4,062.3 crores, whereas in this particular budget it was reduced to 2,663 crores. So taking these 2 points into consideration, the 137% hike, as my co-panelist said, he said that taking only the comparative measures or the retrospective measures into concern, the 137% hike is true. But I say, taking these two main departments into concern, you don't see a hike in the amount of allocation done for these two departments. And at the same time, the amount that was allocated for different sectors, say the COVID vaccines, the Finance Commission grants for health, and most importantly, the new experimental yojana that has been announced by the Honorable Finance Minister, the Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana, which will go over a 6 years period for 64,180 crores allocation, which was previously mentioned by my co-panelist. So taking these 2 points into concern, a lot of money is being put into preventive measures than into improvement measures. So taking this point and taking the previous point that has not been invested into health welfare and health research, the 137% hike in numbers is true, but in terms of practical aspects, I hope it is it doesn't conclude the point.
Mr. Aditya, yeah, you can share your opinion on a statement.
Yeah, so I'd like to go for the first point that Carrie said. So Carrie said that, the PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Yojana thing, but I would like to say that it is not at all included in that annexure that Mrs. or Miss Nirmala Sitaraman, announced. Also, the vaccine thing, vaccine is Okay, cool. But vaccine is also a part of health, right? So it should be included. Carrie said one point that I'm sorry, Carrie, did you talk about this thing, right? Can you repeat that point, your first point? Actually,
About?
you talked about yeah. So you talked about the budgetary estimates fall in the health sector's budgetary estimate, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
in the
So
health
okay.
welfare of family and the health reserve.
So as you said, they are fall from the revised estimates. Revised estimates are high because first of all the inflation was high, and also we were in the middle of a pandemic. Now we are slowly getting down the pandemic, and we are recovering from it. The revised estimates were high, I agree that, but as Nirmala Sitharaman, our honorable finance minister, said, these are comparisons of our budgetary estimates. So that actually counters the point of my co-panelist. And also, if you look at the output outcome framework, uh, even if there is a decrease in the allocation, there is actually a stable amount of outcome coming from it if you see the reports. So I don't think that decrease should be accounted for. And I think that even if we account for the inflation this time, so it should be 4.5 or 4.5 to 5 according to the reports for the coming years, for the
Inflation
coming
of?
inflation of our economy, like the rupee. So that should be 4.5 to 5. So even if you account for that, the results are transforming. And I think it's a genuine statement.
Okay, let me put one point clear cut forward. The number of preventive measures that have been taken. Good, you're taking preventive measures. You're taking preventive measures against a global pandemic, a global virus that's been attacking a lot of people, say in our country, in a lot of neighboring countries also. But are preventive measures alone enough? Why are there not practical measures? So that's been my total point over here. And let me put one fact in front of the panel and in front of the participants also, that globally our country is rated 179 out of 189 countries in giving priority to health and welfare. So 137% hike is in numbers true, but again I say in practical measures it doesn't conclude the point.
Thank you guys for sharing your views.
Can I just make another point? Just one point.
We are running out of time.
Okay, come on. Okay, cool. Fine.
Okay. We can move to the next question.
Yes, so we'll get to the last debate session. That is, the professional accounting bodies had proposed for the revision in the limits of the exemptions in the arena of child education allowance, child health allowance, and leave encashment receipts, and also on the increase in the limits of basic exemptions to 5 lakh. Whether such revisions were necessary as they were being made a long time ago. To the panelists out there, whether such reforms in this tax system is to be required now or not. To this, I ask Mr. Yash and Mr. DS Srinivasan to discuss on this. And please do make sure that you stick on the time.
Okay.
DLS, you will start. DL Srinivasan, you will
DS
start. Yeah.
Srinivasan,
Yeah. Okay. Let me. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
You can start, Mr. DL Srinivasan.
Yeah. Okay. So my take is that the reforms in the taxation is necessary. Why? We all know that it is 1 in 100 years pandemic, and the budget is also and 1 in 100 years budget. And if the budget doesn't give a big change in taxation, like it doesn't contain a big reformations in taxation, that's a little disappointment. Okay, let me tell you why. So for the past years, we are seeing that the taxation has been reduced. Why? The taxation has been reduced, like the decrease in the corporate taxation, the decrease in the dividend distribution tax, and many taxation have been decreased. Okay, so the taxation have been reduced drastically. So if the companies are, if the economy is doing better, the said the government is reducing the tax. If the country is doing that not that much good, what the government should possibly do? It should increase the tax. Okay, but so which brings a big reformation in the taxation. So if the taxation is not reformed, when and when the need arises, okay, what will happen is that the inequality in the citizens will increase drastically. Okay, we evidently know that the inequality between the rich and the poor is widening at a large rate. Okay, so if the tax reforms brought is not to an extent, okay, let me give an example. Okay, let me tell you how the tax should be paid. Okay, the taxation should be paid, okay, so that the person who is paying the taxation is not feeling the pain of paying it. Okay, like a bee takes the honey from the flower, where the flower doesn't feel the pain of honey taking the honey. Okay, so the flower doesn't feel the pain. Okay, so that much the taxation should be there, and the reformation should be done. And by this I conclude, and I ask my co-panelists to start. Thank you.
Mr. Yash, you can start.
Yeah. So talking about the tax reforms, which was required, obviously, DL Srinivasan, my counterperson, said it right. It is 1 in 100 years pandemic. Yeah, it is true. It is 1 in 100 years pandemic, but you have to, at the counter side, you have to see the expenditures which are being made in healthcare. How many people were provided, the food during the pandemic time, during the lockdown time? How much expenditures were made? Where our fiscal deficit, which our honorable finance minister said, which was targeted last year's, was targeted around 10% of GDP. It's a very, very huge deficit which we are talking about. And talking about even the Atmanirbhar package which was been announced, it is turning out to be around 27 lakh crores. Around, I am not sure of the exact figures, but yeah, it was 27 lakh crores. It's around that figure, which is 13 again a 13% of the GDP. Now, if we reduce these things, if we reduce such tax immediately as a immediate effect because of the pandemic, I feel that would be a loss of revenue for the government, and a very big loss. Why I'm speaking it now? When the dividend distribution tax was removed, the figures which quoted were 25,000 crore loss of revenue. That was the right figure. If I am not, I feel that was the right figure which was given. When the corporate tax rate cuts were announced, it was 1,45,000 crores was the loss of revenue. So obviously, that is the thing. And today, if you see, the major taxpayers are salaried class people. And if you immediately bring taxation reforms for them or any other group of individuals, the government would lose a very, very big sum. And that big sum to lose at this point of time, there are no chances that I feel that government would take up that level of risk. Because as you even stated, 12 lakh crores is the borrowings. That's the amount of borrowings which is being there. If we just reduce the tax, obviously we need to borrow. Go outside, need to borrow. Again, leading pressure on our economy. I think so. Pre-COVID, it was around 67% of the GDP was our borrowings figure, internal and external borrowings, including. Now, obviously, post-budget, I do feel that it will go high. According to IMF, if I am not wrong, I had read an article. According to IMF, it should be around 66%, and at the safest side. Obviously, there are many countries, there are developed countries who are having it more than 100%. I am not going about that way. But obviously, we wish to be at the safer side. At that safer side, If we reduce the tax reforms, if we bring the tax reforms today, it's the borrowings which is going to be at the cost of borrowings. So that is going to hurt the Indian economy at this point of time. Obviously, the tax reforms are the need. Obviously, the tax reforms are the need because they were revised a very long time ago. But I don't feel it to be today. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Just a small, like the face of between you both. I just want it very short. So I request Mr. D.R. Srinivasan to just give a quick, like, your opinions on Yash part. A very short one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let me finish off by saying just 2 points. Okay, the first point. Okay, the tax reformation to be done should not affect the revenue of the government. Okay, the revenue needs government so that it doesn't increase the borrowings. That's the first point. And the second thing, the reformation done in taxation should be sustainable. Okay, it should not be that we implement this for this year only, not for the next year. It should not be like that. Okay, it should be sustainable so that the government gets revenue, the government gets more revenue starting from here for the forthcoming year also. I conclude it here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Yash, you can just start your case off by
Yeah,
just
it is
pick one.
yeah, thank you, Mahesh. And it is right, obviously it should not be at the cost of revenue, which I felt that TL Srinivasan said it really right. It should, but obviously, the reformations which were required was to give relaxation to salaried class. The relaxation obviously means a loss of revenue for the government on that part, which I would like to say to you. And one more point which you stated in your initial speech, which I wanted to tell, was income inequality, which is stated, right? That rich were getting richer. On that aspect, the government has introduced last year. They have introduced a surcharge. They have increased the surcharge rates like 25% and 37. I'm not sure of the exact rates. I'm really sorry about that part. I'm not sure of the exact rates which had happened, but yeah, obviously that has affected, that has brought down the income inequality to a level which I feel it to be in a better off way. That's it. I would like to conclude with. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for your takeoff. It's really good. And now I request Mr. Swaminathan, chairperson of Samprut, the Students Forum of Honors Department, to give the vote of thanks.
Before that, participant, you can see the feedback link in the chat box. Please fill the feedback form.
Yes, it's mandatory to fill the feedback form. And now I request Mr. Swaminathan take over the vote of thanks.
So, good evening to all. Am I audible, Mahesh?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Good evening, one and all, my dear friends and juniors. It's given me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event. I would like to thank our beloved principal and secretary for our college and head of the department, Ms. Sendamari ma'am, and staff members of our department while being a support team, and then our faculty coordinator Sairam sir, who being a major force to drive us. Then the event coordinator for the event, Vaishnav, who have been worked more to make this event to happen. Then the members of the association, then our beloved friends and juniors who have been the panelists for today. Without them, today we can't get all those information about budget 2K21. And last, I thank MCs who Magesh and Sajid who get the event very well. And thank you Miyasi for the in-between Tamil poetry lines. And also Rahul who is working behind the screen, like he's a technical team coordinator, and thank for him. And finally, Raghavan, who is the creator of the wonderful poster and image for the today event. Not but not the least, our beloved audience for making this panel discussion a wonderful. And thank you all once again. And stay safe and support us for the forthcoming events. And thank you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swaminathan. I thank you all for being participating in this, and I hope that everyone have filled the feedback form. It's mandatory to all the participants who are there in this meet to fill the feedback form, which is in the chat box.
Thank you guys for coming and attending. Thank you.
Yes.
Don't forget to fill the feedback form.
Once you have filled the feedback form, you can leave the meet. Thank you so much for your support and participation. I request the panelists and the other coordinators to please remain in the meet. Others, after filling the feedback form, you can just leave the meet. Thank you so much for participating and making this event successful.
After filling the form, participant can leave the meet.
Yes, the feedback form will be available for just few more minutes. So I request you all to please fill the form as soon as possible. And once done, you can just leave the meet. Thank you. I request the participants to please fill the feedback form as soon as possible. And once done, please do leave the meet.
கேக்குற கேள்வி பாரு